Welcome back to another recording of the Elevate Media Podcast. I'm Chris Anderson, your host. And today we're going to be diving into how we can make sure that the actions we're taking each day to grow our businesses actually grow our business and that they're aligned for acceleration. And we brought on another expert to talk about that. She's the CEO and head of strategic partnerships at Revampologist. She is also a business advisor. So we've got Kareen Walsh on the show. Corrine, welcome to the Elevate Media Podcast today.
Thank you, Chris. So great to be here.
Absolutely. Looking forward to diving into this topic. So we'll get right into it.
Yep.
Why is having our actions aligned in business so important for business growth?
Yeah. So alignment comes in several different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the aligned stance you have as you lead your business, right?
Yep.
And then there's the alignment of the actions that follow against the strategy that you're setting, right? But most of the time we are in a scramble of just trying to get so much done in order to, like I said, run a busyness versus a business, which is one of my favorite things, right? To help clean up, because I did it myself for many years where I was, sitting in the doing so much. And then I realized, we got to just lead better and be a little bit more conscious about what are we going after and making sure that everyone's aligned and in lockstep to stepping forward. But that's not always possible. Right. We need to have the practices in place to set ourselves up for determining what aligned means. So sometimes when you use that word, Chris, I'm curious for you too, like when you hear that word, what comes up to you when you hear the word aligned? Because a lot of people even get confused about that.
Yeah. What comes with me is just like the flow. The pipeline is there. So what you're doing is flowing right into the next thing, which flows, where it needs to actually get to and do.
Yeah. So flow is such a great word. In order to have flow, there has to be a high level of communication. The action steps of what the handoff process is from start to finish needs to be known. But most of all, I think too, is the ability to respond with ease when it doesn't go well. Like that is one of the things that I think aligned practices really defined, or an aligned stance defines, that we don't do enough questioning around, is this actually the right way to do it, the best way to do it, the most efficient way to do it? Can it be done better? And do kind of the continuous improvement process to really step into alignment. And the reason why that accelerates your growth, like the ability to pause, check in and say, hey, what's been going really well? So I have this retrospective exercise that helps my clients step into aligned action. It also helped me build my multiple 7-figure businesses and like scale past myself, is because I constantly use this and put it into check, which is the thing I want to share with your viewers and listeners today, because it's really simple, but it helps you step into aligned action. So it's 4 steps.
Okay.
And the first one is what's going really well. So what we also don't do enough as overachievers, or just the people who are outliers trying to put ourselves out there to build business, because it's all a choice, right? We don't celebrate enough and we don't ask ourselves like what's going really well. So that's the first question. And you just want to spend time, whether you're doing this for yourself, if you're a solopreneur, just kind of transitioning into working for yourself. This is really helpful to keep yourself aligned because there's so much you have to do, but also do this with your team so that everybody is answering it. If you've scaled past yourself and now you have a team, what is going really well, and hear each other out on that, because these are the things you want to continue doing. If it's going well, let's keep it running. But when you ask that question first, it also puts you in a higher energy. You're like, actually, it's not all hard. Like we are doing things really well. We celebrate. So that the second question you ask yourself, which is, what are the things we need to stop doing? It gets a little bit more of a focused energy coming from what's going really well to now, like, these are the things that are distracting us, or these are the things holding us back, or these are the places we're spending time where it actually needs to navigate different for us to actually go after this goal or achieve this thing. So that's the second question, is to spend time on what do we need to stop doing. And especially as an individual, when you do it on yourself, a lot of my clients, or the people I run this for free every month with a group too, where it's basically they sit and they're like, I got to stop procrastinating.
Yeah.
It's like the number
Right.
one thing because, you have to step into action if you want the results you're looking for. And then the
Yeah.
third question is, what do we need to start doing?
Mm,
So the start doing allows you to then pause and think about, okay, well, we've done this really well. We need to stop doing this. Sometimes the stop doing list gives us permission to create room for what we need to start doing in
mm,
order to inch us towards that goal.
yeah.
And then the fourth step, after you take some time answering that, is to decide on the one thing that you're going to focus on
Yeah.
for the next 30 days or whatever the time frame is before you check in again.
Yeah.
And that really helps you step into aligned action.
Yeah, I like that because, if you can be honest with yourself and say, okay, this isn't working or this is detracting, we need to stop doing these things and start doing this instead, and then picking the one. Because I feel like, at least from my perspective, if we have so many things we need to do,
Yeah,
we don't do anything sometimes, or
that's
we have
right.
a slower start. So picking that one thing, and kind of running with that first, uh, will help you at the end of the day get more done because you're actually getting things done quicker by picking
Right.
that one thing. How do you you guide people in picking that one thing? What do they need to do when they realize, hey, we need to start maybe these 4 things?
Yep.
How do they pick the one to start on?
I like to do the thing that moves the needle the furthest, fastest.
Okay.
So sometimes, for example, I remember when I was working on a book of mine, like one of
Mm,
the books I released, and I used this exercise to make sure I kept on task actually
yeah.
getting it done because you can have these aspirational goals and they could never happen if you for
True.
me, I have to have it like formatted and like see that, okay, this is the small action I can take right now. Like, what's
Yep.
the thing out of this huge goal, right?
Yeah.
Or whether it was even earning, building my 7-figure business. Like, I use this exact tactic. I did it every week. Most
Yeah.
people do it every 30 days, but I did it to myself every week because I really wanted to make sure that the following week was in action, right? But you
Yeah.
can imagine the task list, right? Or the things to start doing could be immense. So I always like to use the lens of what is the thing out of these 4 things, because you said 4 things. What is the one thing that if I just focus on this for this next time frame, it actually moves everything further faster.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
try to get the highest weighted one.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can also feel like the most challenging one,
Sure.
because it is the rock that has to
Mhm.
move so that the water can flow, right?
Yep.
And that is what I always recommend.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you're with a team, there are multiple things. Everybody's taking an individual action, right?
Sure.
So you can
Yeah.
actually get multiple things done, but you're all now determining who's the owner of that action and going to lead that forward and make sure that that gets done too. So you can have
Yeah.
parallel things running, but as an individual, the thing you assign yourself, that one thing. And then as soon as that one thing's done,
And
and
go to the
most of
next.
the time I'll tell you when you concentrate on the one thing, it actually happens quite faster than
Yeah.
you would imagine if you start to do 4 things, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then you just pick the next one off the list. It's there
That's
for
true.
you,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
What would be some things that you would maybe be like red flags or things that
Mhm.
could say, hey, our actions not aligned
Mm.
with our, the growth we want? What are some
Yeah.
things that might show themselves to say, hey, we need to take a second look at this?
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of asking the stop doing
Hmm.
question is because it starts to create a list of, wow, that's why, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's why we're not seeing the results. Or we kept hitting a wall trying to do this one thing. It's not working. Like, can
Yeah.
we please take permission to stop it? So the red flags to me are the items that are not allowing you to move forward,
Okay.
right? Like it's the things that are really halting you, but yet have attachment to letting it go, that is really stopping you from moving forward in an aligned way. It literally, the visual I have is like an anchor, right?
Uh-huh.
Like it
Yeah.
really is stopping you from that forward motion. Those are the things you want to look at. So it could literally be you're selling an item or you're selling a service and no one's buying it, but you're still focusing on selling it.
Yeah.
Well, something's got to tweak there, right?
So,
Like
but
if
so
they're
you would notice something has to tweak, or you need to follow up, or you need to look at this. What do we need to
yeah,
stop list because maybe you're not getting the sales or the revenue that you're wanting? Is that kind of something that could
yeah.
point
And
you to
so
that?
like right. So let's say for example, because some of your listeners might
Mhm.
need this type of support.
Yeah.
let's say you've designed something like so beautiful. It's a service that you are so good at, and you have this amazing offer, but no one's buying it.
Yeah.
Different things have to be realigned in order for the purchases to happen. And the things to look at would be, are you really clear on who the ideal buyer is of that offer? Is it priced in a price point that ideal client would actually invest in? Like, have you done the comparative analysis for it? Is the offer inclusive of the results that actually are needed in order for them to move on, right? So if we did this retrospective and it was about 30 days where you were trying to sell this offer and you had no buyers for it, the stop thing that might show up is, stop selling this offer as is. Like, read, and then the start doing could be redefine the offer to attract the ideal client. Because a lot of the time, and I'm sure you've seen this, Chris, or even faced it yourself, where it's like we as creators love to create.
Yep.
And we really forget that the receiver on the other side of what we're creating is coming from a decision matrix that is unique to them. That if we don't design what we're offering for them to have an easy yes to it, we definitely will hit walls in trying to sell, to our clients, like sell and put our amazing work, our creations out there.
Right. Yeah. I think, and sometimes it is kind of letting go of what we want and building it for more of who we're trying to help. Because sometimes, we forget to look at that from that perspective. And it's sometimes humbling, and sometimes it's like a gut check of like, oh yeah, I was wrong, or my great idea wasn't so great. And
it is a great idea. It just needs
a little bit. Yeah.
It just needs refinement on who it's for. And then you start to think about, okay, if that person was buying this from me, what do they need to hear?
Yeah.
What is it that I actually need to offer them that they would say yes to? Because creators are amazing at coming up with what's next. Like, I'm an amazing visionary. I can come up with so much what's next. But for the longest time in my business, I was not thinking about who it was for. Then I would wonder, like, why didn't this thing sell? It's amazing, But then it's like, oh, well, I forgot to actually speak to the person that I wanted to buy and validate that they wanted it. I just was coming up with things because I saw a gap. Like, I'm solution oriented, and it's so common in entrepreneurship. It's also why I created this quiz called the CEO Conundrum, because the creator, CEO is an acronym: creator, entrepreneur, and operator. And the creator is the one that comes up with the what. The entrepreneur is the one that sells it, basically the one that like loves to be in the money side, like loves to make it a deal, like put it out there, engage with the clients, like, that interaction. And the operator is the one that actually gets it done, like the how part of it, right? And we tend to lean into one of those three things. But when we're solopreneurs, we have to do all three. And so we muddy the clarity we need to step into aligned action because we're trying to do all the roles. But most of all, knowing that all three need to exist. If you're going to do it all yourself, which I don't recommend, I did it for many years until I got out of my own way. And I clarified where I want to play the most out of those three roles in my business so that I could delegate and build the right expertise under me to do what they're good at and scale past myself. But the stuckness is common,
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's important to remember. Like, we can't do it all because, we all start, starting by ourselves for the most part, solopreneur, wearing all the hats. And that's, something I had to learn, like, and realize early on. I was like, I can't scale to the level that Elevate needs to be at by myself.
Right.
Because I'm not good enough at certain things. And so it was a choice that we made early on, like,
find the person who's good at it.
Yeah, revenue, profit. Like, we're not going to have as big a profit margins because I'm going to expand the team first.
Right.
And when we're going to, because that's the only way to build that foundation to be able to scale and grow past that.
That's right.
And if someone is out there, solopreneur, wearing multiple hats, I know you talked about kind of picking where you're strongest.
Yeah.
How can they still be aligned wearing each of those hats, focusing on that main focus? How can they still be aligned having to do all three of those?
Yeah, I think it has to do with patience was the
Mm.
first word that came to mind with yourself,
Yeah.
knowing that you are one person trying to
Mhm.
do 3 distinct roles in your business.
Yeah.
And then you have to get hyper organized, knowing
Mhm.
that all of those jobs have to happen, all those tasks have to happen. So the way I did it, because I was definitely a solopreneur for a very long time,
Yeah.
I would time block. Like the exercise I would use would be time blocking to be like, okay, this is the window for sales, and this is the
Yeah.
window, to operate. This is the window to execute. This is the window to create something new. Generally, though, the creation side would have to go in phases, like every 90 days, maximum, because as someone who's doing all the roles, you need to see your creation come to fruition, which requires the other 2 roles to be in play,
Yeah.
right? And if you don't give the other 2 roles enough time to fully bake what you're trying to put out there, then you really don't have a model, a proven model as to what business you're in.
Yeah.
So if I were to give the time blocking like a framework, it's definitely in the beginning when you're launching something new, like all roles are kind of needed to get your product or service out there. And then you want to limit creation of something new until you've maximized what you've already created and proven that other things are needed from you in the market,
Yeah.
by the clients that you've attracted in. So then
Mhm.
what that looks like is the entrepreneur role and the operator role are the 2 roles that are more in play for your aligned actions for that, let's say, 90-day window. And then allow yourself creation time every 90 days around the what's next. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you the biggest challenge is because most people who go into entrepreneurship or solopreneurship are creators.
Yeah.
They like to do things different.
Yeah.
They're more outliers. Like in my quiz, I think my results are like 85% of the people take it are creators, and
Wow.
then the other percentages fall into entrepreneur and operator for
Yeah.
because it's really about that new next thing, right? Like it's that exciting visionary role. It's, why you went into entrepreneurship to begin with because you saw that there's a different way to do something
Yep.
than being employed by others who had a specific way of putting it out there, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think what you mentioned there, the time blocking was huge. And, when I was, on my own, when I first started it, like time blocking was so crucial. And as having a podcast, things like that thrown in there and content
Mhm.
creation now with social media,
Ugh,
yeah. So time blocking is huge because if you don't know, like if you don't schedule your time, if you don't control your time, it'll just vanish on you. Just kind
that's
of like
right.
your finances as well. Like if you don't have control of that and know where it's going, it's just going to disappear. And so, yeah, I think
Yeah.
time blocking, especially when you're wearing so many hats, is so, so crucial. I still use time blocking with some things
Oh,
with what
yeah,
I have
for
to do.
sure.
It's such a crucial tool to be able to know and sticking with it sometimes can be the hardest because things
Discipline.
come up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Your discipline is
Yeah.
is so needed, especially if you're a creator,
Yeah.
to be disciplined about the operational thing. Because I remember when I was finding where my time was being spent that would draw down my energy. Like,
Uh-huh.
you can tell energetically,
Mhm.
like, like, I gotta do invoicing, and I gotta draft this contract, and I gotta follow up, like, be collections, like, those things are operator role
Mm,
things.
mhm.
And the operator role things were the things that I was just like, "Get me out of this." Like, I yes, I know how to do it, but I shouldn't do it. So
Right.
when I decided to stop shoulding all over myself, right? Like, I started to design the job descriptions of who to hire next based on the things that made me feel down in my
Yeah.
energy, but had to be done in my
Yep.
business,
Yeah,
right?
for
So the
sure.
discipline does matter because I would not have had a business if I didn't every Friday run invoicing, go collect payments, like make sure contracts were signed. But
Yep.
at least time blocking it made me feel that it was temporary. Like
Mhm.
it was just that short period of time. Like
Yeah.
I didn't sit in avoidance. If you sit in avoidance in building or running your business, you will definitely feel drained and not accomplish your goals
Yeah.
because you're in that avoidant energy, right?
Yeah.
So discipline matters with that time blocking for sure.
Yeah, and I think with that too, especially when I first started, I thought everything had to be done right then, right in a moment. If I got an email or something, I had to respond right
Mhm.
then and get it done. And so, being able to time block, this is when I'm going to sit down and respond to emails,
Yeah.
or this is when I'm going to, like you said, send invoices or contracts. Like allowed me to take a breath doing that instead of just constantly being responsive and
Yeah,
reactive to what
reactionary.
yeah.
Yeah,
You think,
it makes
you know,
you
when you're starting out, you're thinking, "Man, if I don't do this right now, I'm not gonna get the
I'm gonna
business.
lose
It's
it.
gonna
Like,
fall." Exactly.
yeah, yeah. And
So
I still think I have trigger habits
oh, yeah, for sure. Me
where
too.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, let me just
Yep.
only I think," but honestly though, Chris, I think it's just 'cause memory.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't do it now, I will forget. So,
Yeah.
2 things happen. It's either I stick it on my calendar as
Yep.
a do it at this time, and if I keep that email or message, like,
Mhm.
unread. Like,
Yep.
there's
Yes, 100%.
so many habits. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the thing, like, in order to accelerate your growth too, you have to know how you best perform.
Mhm.
And that's why, checking in on yourself, using the retrospective exercise to be like, this is how I'm acting in my business.
Yeah.
This is how I need to act going forward to make it even better, to make it
Yep.
more exciting, to make it,
Yeah.
something that I want to show up for,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, man, talk about the the emails. So many unread emails because I'll go and read them, and I'm like, "I can't respond to this now," or don't have time to, respond correctly. So I'll go back and select unread. So when I do have time to sit on the emails, I can actually go back through them. And then the biggest thing for me with emails that, I think just recently, I don't know why, that I finally got into the habit of doing is scheduling out emails.
Mm.
Like
Yeah, the
like, especially if
functionality wasn't there for a
R
while. Like, that's so
right,
new.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, because I have 2 young kids, so sometimes I'll do that, like, after they go to bed or something, and it's probably too late to send an email, and so I'll just respond, but I'll schedule it out to go, like, the next day at a certain time or, like and it's been a game changer. It's huge to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
because you don't wanna set the precedence for your
like,
team
24
if you're
yeah,
emailing them or your
mhm,
clients that you're gonna be available at all times.
yeah,
Scheduling function is so critical to stay within the boundaries of operation, but
yep,
help you stay productive. Yeah,
yeah,
I get that. I totally
yeah.
get that because you have to do it in the windows when you can, especially if you have kids, for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. So, and that's another thing too, like if like having kids are under responsibility. So like I coach soccer as well here locally. You just have to really have time management. It's something you really have to learn and get better at and
So
discipline,
true.
like you mentioned. I think those are crucial for any really successful entrepreneur. I mean, I'm sure you could do it without it, but it's a lot
I
harder.
don't think you can, honestly,
No, yeah.
because time is only because we all have the same 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Those who have an appreciation for the time that they have to maximize what they can do, most high net worth individuals out there, I mean, they've run studies on this too, is because they live by their calendar. Like, they
Yeah.
show up and are super disciplined by what's on there. And their life and their business is outlined on there so that also can keep them relational.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can easily get so caught up in all the have to list
Hmm.
that you forget why you're doing it all. You forget the enjoyment of the life you've built for it. Like,
Yeah.
it should not be a trade-off. It needs to
Yeah.
be integrated into how you show up in all of it.
Yeah, and that's, like, something too when I first started and I think there's seasons for everything, so when I first started, like, having fun, doing anything that was fun or enjoyable, like, just didn't happen.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't now it's at the point I was like, I'm building this to be able to enjoy life some.
That's
Like,
right.
I'm not on vacation 24/7, and traveling to Tahiti, every other month or something like that, but, like, being able to take a day or 2 and just go hiking or go out, um, take the kids is something like
Yeah.
that, like, to enjoy the moments, like, and, that's why we're doing this, right? And so
Yep. It's a
for
choice.
the most part,
For
yeah,
sure.
and so
Yeah.
I just had an episode we recorded, previously. It was another gentleman, and he was talking about, like, celebrating the wins too. I think
Yes.
that's something else to keep us aligned with what we're doing is, actually focusing even a small amount of time on the wins you've had along the way,
Yeah.
because we get so goal focused on the next goal, we forget where we've come and what we've accomplished. And so I think celebrating those wins and taking time for yourself is huge.
Yeah, I think there's a big, I call it the overachiever's dilemma,
Mhm. Yeah.
is that if we sit in an energy of not enough, like it's
Yep.
never enough, it's like
Yep.
what's or the what's next, like did
Mhm.
that, done that, what's next? And I definitely had years like when I would accomplish the things I set out to in like record time, but I'd be like, next,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
was no, it's
Yep.
very hard for me and for overachievers to celebrate because we thrive in the journey of achievement, right?
Right.
So I had
Yep.
to learn what actually fills me up to realize that the achievement has to meet that need,
Yeah.
right? Meet the fulfillment need, not just check things off a list. Like that
Yeah.
became very antiquated and like unfulfilling for me.
Yeah.
So that was a big shift, you know. It was like,
Yep.
okay, well, what fills me up? And then why do I want to show up in this all? And I'll tell you, you know, I've made choices business wise that fuel my life,
Mm.
not so much just to cross things off a list. Like one of the services I offer, I could literally scale that business if I wanted to with the relationships I have to, you know, a 9-10 figure business if I wanted to. Like I do not, because I know that the life that that would lead to would not be fulfilling for me.
Right.
So yes, would there be money in the bank? Sure. But would I feel good about it? No, because
Right.
it's not necessarily where I want to be spending my time.
For
And
sure.
those are the trade-offs we're allowed to do in entrepreneurship. That is why I went into it. Like
Yeah.
I like to choose how I spend my time and what
Yeah.
I get to produce and put out into the world, and less so about the social demands or the achievement demands that tend to be out there.
Yeah, I'm kind of like you on that. I didn't like people tell me what my time was worth or what I could do with my time, and so that was kind of one of the final straws for me. But yeah, and you know, I sat the other day just in the living room. You know, we recording this close to Christmas, um, and we had the Christmas lights up. Kids were just playing. I just sat there. I was like, this is what you know. I can sit here and enjoy this. Like this
Yes.
is, you know, we're 3 years in. Elevate's 3 years old.
Amazing.
And like I get to enjoy this moment. Like I when most and it was like I think it was like early afternoon or something. Like I
Yeah.
could be at a job. Like I might not even like I have
Right.
this moment because of this. No matter how hard the ups and downs, like this right here is worth it. And so
Yeah.
like just
You find what
that
fills you
moment
up.
of
Yeah.
gratitude and
Yeah.
so yeah, I think finding the alignment. I think and I love you know what are we doing good? What do we need to stop? You know, what do we need to start? And then what's
Yep.
that one thing that we're
Yeah.
gonna actually do? I think is so crucial and a great, you know, probably how often would you recommend people doing those 4 things? Quarterly?
I would say
Um,
every 30 days if you're
okay.
really, you know, only be you could do it quarterly like as your team, or you
Yeah.
could do, you know, just for like strategic goals. But I would
Mhm.
think if you really want traction, weekly is even healthy too if you're
Okay.
really trying to like put something out there, but
Sure.
no more than 30 days at a time. So
Okay.
like I offer this every month as I facilitate it for
Mhm.
whoever wants to join my call, because I know that the alignment it gives you, but then you get like the live coaching too if you're feeling
Yeah.
stuck in any way.
Yeah.
And I've seen those who join in a cyclical way every 30
Mhm.
days, their traction goes further because they just did a quick pause. I mean, you could do this exercise in less than 15
Sure.
minutes
Yeah.
and really then be like, oh, okay, so next week I'm starting with this.
Nice.
Or sometimes you get the result of just stay the course,
Yeah.
do it again for another
Yeah.
30 days, whatever we've been doing, stay the course, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
for
Because
30
when you
days.
do that, you might not have anything you need to stop or start something new, right? You could just be like, "Hey, we're doing this good. We're hitting where we're wanting to hit. Let's just keep it up."
Just keep asking those questions though.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because sometimes it's small tweak.
Sure.
You don't even realize, you
Yeah.
know, and then that little tweak or something, lesson learned from the last 30
Mhm.
days, be like, this is really good, but if we just did this,
Yeah,
oh my God, we'd knock it out, you know,
yeah.
or you know, so still ask the questions, but yes,
Okay.
exactly right. You could stay focused on the same actions and the same goals and just stay the course if that's what the result is, you
Okay.
know, for you from the
Yeah.
exercise for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been fantastic, Kareen. I appreciate
Yeah.
you. I mean, time flew. I didn't realize how
Yeah.
far into this we was, but I mean, those 4 things right there, I mean,
Yeah.
that is so good for people to implement. Um, and so, like, that alone, plus everything else you discussed in the episode
Yeah.
is just gold. So,
It's
if
great.
people want to connect with you, they want
Mhm.
to maybe hop on these calls or learn more from you,
Yeah.
where's the best place for them to connect with?
Well, I launched my Hey Kareen platform, so it's like your Hey Siri or Hey Alexa for
Oh, cool.
business. So heykareen.com, and you can download my app, the Hey Kareen app, and in that, or you can go to heykareen.com/retro to join my monthly calls. We're just about to put the schedule up for 2025. So please join, and you'll get the notifications to come. It's the last Thursday of every month. And then if you want to DM me, I'm on Insta. So it's Kareen Z Walsh on Insta. You get to see behind the scenes of the hot mess that I am in, in it all too. Like sometimes we just don't come polished, and I like to show all sides behind entrepreneurial life.
I like it.
So you can connect with me there or on LinkedIn. You know,
Awesome.
I appreciate being here with you today, Chris, and however I can serve going forward, just, have your audience reach out. I'm here for you.
Yeah, everyone, if what Corrine talked about resonated with you, if you think it's for you, definitely connect with her, definitely continue to learn and, get aligned for more growth. And so, yeah, again, Corrine, thank you so much for being on the Elevate Media podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And those listening, if you know someone who's trying to get traction in their business, trying to get that alignment to accelerate their growth, share this with them. Let them know that there are simple steps that Corrine laid out today that they can follow to figure out what's going on, to get unstuck and get going. So we can help so many more people as we share this together. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for tuning in. But until next time, let's continue to elevate your life, elevate your brand, and we'll talk to you again soon.